Psalm 54 is a Bible passage from the Book of Psalms, attributed to David. It's a short plea for help and deliverance from enemies. Understanding this psalm involves recognizing its themes of trust, faith, and divine justice. This psalm is traditionally thought to have been written by David during a period of personal turmoil. Historical context indicates that it was composed when the Ziphites betrayed David to King Saul, 1 Samuel 23 verse 19. While David was in hiding from Saul, who intended to take his life, the Ziphites revealed David's whereabouts to Saul, placing him in grave danger. The psalm begins with a direct call to God for salvation. Verse 1-2. David calls upon God's name for deliverance and asks for God to hear his prayer. This reflects his deep reliance on divine intervention. Verse 3. David describes his adversaries as proud and ruthless, indicating they have no regard for God. This lack of reverence or fear of divine retribution is a central concern, as it highlights their moral corruption and disregard for their actions and spiritual consequences. Verse 4-5. Despite his dire situation, David expresses confidence in God's support and justice. He believes that God will uphold him and turn evil back onto his enemies, emphasizing a faith that justice will prevail. Verse 6-7. The psalm concludes with a vow of praise and thanksgiving. David pledges to offer sacrifices and thanks to God once he is delivered, demonstrating his trust that God will act on his behalf. The notion of disregard for God is particularly evident in verse 3, where David's enemies are described as not setting God before them. This implies a willful neglect of God's authority and moral order. The psalm contrasts this disregard with David's own faith and reliance on God, underscoring the spiritual divide between the faithful and the faithless. Psalm 54 serves as a profound reminder of the significance of faith and dependence on divine justice during challenging times. It emphasizes the repercussions of neglecting God and the strength that comes from placing trust in Him. David's heartfelt plea and subsequent praise illustrate the resilience and hope that arise from steadfast faith. Disregarding God's principles or guidance is a concept that can be observed in various aspects of contemporary life. Here are some examples where individuals or society may overlook spiritual values. In today's consumer-driven society, there is often a focus on acquiring material wealth and possessions, sometimes at the expense of spiritual growth and moral values. This pursuit can lead to prioritizing earthly gains over spiritual well-being, reflecting a disregard for the deeper, non-material aspects of life. When individuals or communities prioritize self-interest over helping others, it can be seen as disregarding the call to love and care for one another. Ignoring the needs of the less fortunate or failing to act with kindness and empathy can indicate a neglect of spiritual teachings that emphasize compassion. In professional settings, people may sometimes choose to compromise their ethics or integrity for personal advancement or financial success. This can manifest as dishonesty, exploitation, or greed, showing a disregard for moral principles that align with spiritual teachings. In the busyness of daily life, individuals might neglect setting aside time for reflection, prayer, or worship. This can lead to a disconnection from spiritual roots and a diminished sense of divine presence in one's life, as worldly concerns take precedence over spiritual practices. Disregarding the preservation of the environment and failing to care for the earth reflects a lack of appreciation for the creation and the divine responsibility to steward it wisely. This neglect can result in harmful consequences for the planet and future generations. Reflection and reconnection. These examples serve as reminders of the importance of integrating spiritual values into daily life. By being mindful of these potential pitfalls, individuals can strive to reconnect with their spiritual beliefs and live in a way that honors both themselves and our Heavenly Father. This involves balancing worldly ambitions with spiritual growth and ensuring that actions reflect a commitment to compassion, integrity, and stewardship. In today's busy world, it's important to stay connected to our spiritual values. By recognizing when we stray from God's guidance, we allow ourselves to grow and change. Remember, it's always possible to get back on track. Take a few moments each day for quiet thinking or meditation to reconnect with your belief. This can bring you peace and purpose. Aim to do at least one kind thing each day, whether through words or actions. This helps build empathy and strengthen community ties. Try to align your actions with your values, especially during tough times. Choose honesty over convenience and generosity over greed. Be aware of your material wants and see how they fit with your spiritual goals. Focus on what truly enhances your life rather than temporary pleasures. Take simple, regular actions to help the environment, recognizing your responsibility to protect the earth for the future. By incorporating these practices into your daily routine, you can create a life that reflects your spiritual values and supports the greater good. See each day as a chance to grow closer to your ideals and live in harmony with God. I hope you found this bonus material helpful. Keep striving to live a life that reflects your spiritual values and always remember to be the light. Sincerely, Pals for Life.